Guys, this video is sponsored by our friends at Geology. This award-winning men's skincare company will formulate a customized skincare routine just for you, using a handful of powerful, proven ingredients that have been trusted by dermatologists for decades. In fact, Geology is one of the only men's skincare companies to have retinol as an active ingredient in their products. If you suffer from acne, dark eye circles, wrinkles, or sensitive skin, look no further. To get started, take Geology's 30-second diagnostic quiz, and their team of dermatologists will design and ship a regimen directly to your door. It is that simple. Their face wash is incredible. It smells amazing, and I love the way it makes my skin feel after using it. With over 4,000 five-star reviews, why not give it a try? Start today with a 30-day trial of all 4 products. Their everyday face wash, Vital Morning Face Cream, Repairing Night Cream, and Nourishing Eye Cream. Head to geology.com, take their free skincare quiz, and with this exclusive offer, you will save 70% off your first purchase, or just click on the link below. My official prediction for Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo. I gotta tell you, this is a really tough one though. Brandon Moreno was only given a second opportunity because his fight with Figueiredo the first time was surprisingly competitive. It was not an overly close fight, and it really wasn't all that hard to judge. There was a point taken away, and if that point didn't happen, it's Figueiredo, and you're not going to hear from Moreno again. I mean, that really is what happened that night, but the fight was absolutely fantastic. I give those guys all the credit. If it sounds like I'm taking credit away, I'm not. I'm just telling the story that Figueiredo was the big dog. Moreno is a body. Bring him out here. Move on down the line, right? And this was just supposed to be a normal night of business. It turned out Moreno looked so good. And it wasn't just his skills, it was his heart. That's what came through the camera, and that's what the camera has the hardest time of depicting and picking up. When you can actually see the grit of an athlete, and that can be in any sport. I've seen this in track and field a number of times where somebody has got to show guts. They've got to dig deep and they want to do it, and that is what Moreno did. And Dana White went to the press conference that night. I'm talking about the night that Figueiredo and Moreno first met up at the Apex. Dana went to the press conference that night and said, we are doing that fight again as soon as they're both ready. Now, you could count on one hand how many times in Dana's 22-year career that he's ever done that. On one hand, you could count how many times Dana went into a press conference and announced that this fight is going to rehappen. I'll just give you an example. But Colby versus Kamaru, which was clearly the fight to make, they did make it and sold out Madison Square Garden. I mean, clearly the fight to make. Their first fight was the hardest, closest, dirtiest fight I've ever seen, but Dana couldn't go to the press conference and announce it. He's got to go talk to the guys. Just, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Talk to the doctors. Decompress to the commission. It's a very rare thing, is the only point I'm trying to prove, that Dana would go and do that. I'm offering you a great example where he didn't do it. It's very, very rare. He went to the press conference that night and said those two are fighting again. So huge respect to Moreno, but that is the number one thing you came out of that fight with, was a respect for Moreno. Not an ooh, not an ah, not skills you've never seen before. But wow, that was gutsy. And if the only thing we can give you in this business is an opportunity, by God, we're giving you another opportunity. All right, Figueiredo weighs in. Figueiredo says, guys, it was close. It was hard. I wasn't expecting that, the same as you weren't, but I didn't feel good. I was sick. I was vomiting. I couldn't leave bed. I had a fever. And this gets backed up by the team. Now, I never loved that re-engineering of how you felt before a fight, because I couldn't possibly care less. Nobody feels good going into a fight, or at least nobody feels great. Everybody's got ice on something. Everybody's wrapping something. It could be a knee, it could be a toe, it could be a finger. Nobody feels great. And I never love it when a guy tells the story after the fact. But Moreno, I apologize, Figueiredo was just being candid with us. Maybe he didn't owe us that information, but I really didn't take it as an excuse as much as a reason, and that's a very fine line. So this is my own interpretation, but I wasn't upset when Figueiredo said it. I did believe him. He did have witnesses. That was the scuttlebutt in the back. I happened to be there that night. So when they're going to rematch, I not only thought that Figueiredo would win, I thought he would win every single round. I really did. I thought he was clearly the better and more powerful fighter who found himself in a contest that was harder than he thought it was going to be. Things unravel when that happens. They unraveled for him, which only allowed for a close match. not a threatening match. And you may remember Moreno Figueiredo wrong the first time. That was a hard match. That was not a close match, contrary to how you remember it. It was very clear who got the best of who, and it favored Fig. Now, couldn't have been more wrong, right? I mean, right, newsflash, Chael predicted a fight wrong. I even predicted how it went wrong, though. I didn't think that Figueiredo would lose a round. Excuse me, Figueiredo did not win a round. He couldn't win positions that weren't even a threat in the first fight. He's all of a sudden getting taken down and grounded pounded. Something that didn't even happen in the first fight is now the problem all night long. And Moreno becomes champion of the world, first Mexican-born champion of the world, which was just so awesome for the people that were in tears that didn't even know him, that he was out there representing. It was just one of these awesome and special moments in all of sport. My whole life, I've been involved in sport to some level. That was awesome. Okay. We got to go part 3. Why? When you take a one-sided ass whipping, it doesn't really set you up for a third fight. Now, if you want to do a true trilogy, it's because you had 2 fights and you did not get the same outcome. So there is, historically speaking, reason to do it. I will submit for you because that Figueiredo that showed up was not Deiveson Figueiredo that we were used to. That's also a very real thing in sport. You ever hear the expression, I know that you have, I got caught. He got caught. They caught him. That's a real thing. You come out, you're going through some exchanges, you let something go, everybody's fresh, nobody's quite warmed up yet, you hit him and he goes down. That is a very real thing. I think if you were to look at Weili Rose Part 1, that would be an example where you could say, she got caught. And I have to give that example because there was nothing about Rose Weili that in the history of combat has warranted a rematch. Nothing. This was one-sided, it was fast, it was decisive. Why did they rematch him? Well, for what I'm talking about, from a psychological standpoint, you know this athlete, she didn't bring her skills tonight. I got to see it again. Not taken away from Rose, but I need to see it one more time. That was the thought and storyline that went into that fight, and nobody had to roll out a PR tour to sell it. Because we all saw it and we all get that people can get caught. Generally speaking, if you're going to hang your hat on the argument of I got caught, you do need a few things to happen. Things that happen with Rose and Weili, such as super short night. Such as one shot, caught him, knocked him out. Brandon Moreno ran over Deiveson Figueiredo in every single position. He outworked him. He had cage control. He was more aggressive. He had positions. He had submissions. There was absolutely no box that wasn't checked with an exclamation point favoring Moreno. So how do we get here? And why, oh why, would Chael think that Deiveson is going to win the fight? And it's one of those things where whether I can articulate it or not, I can see it when it happens. And even if Figueiredo didn't feel well the first fight and he felt much better the second fight, for Moreno to flip the script, well, Moreno gained something called confidence. A lot of guys will go out there and they'll have a good fight, but they will then rest on their laurels and they will never return to that performance. Even if they win, they do not perform as well as the night that they had their breakthrough moment. And other guys will use it as a springboard to go, yes, I knew it. I knew I had the right coaches. I knew I was working hard. I knew I was focused. I knew I just needed a little bit more time. I knew it. I'm as good as I thought I was. A springboard effect, and that is what Moreno did. But Moreno also hadn't set a record. He didn't even win the fight. He didn't leave as the champion. He didn't have one of sports, from an emotional standpoint, greatest moments that I have ever been privileged to witness. He has all those things now. Is he still on the springboard or is he on the decline? Look, guys, anything in life that goes up must come down. I don't have the answer for that question, by the way. I have no evidence that Moreno is anything other than locked in and planning his run. I just have seen other young athletes in a similar spot. And the opportunities that you have and the people that start pulling at you when you're the champion as opposed to a contender, they're just as big as scumbags as the guys that did it before you were there. They just wear nicer suits. Did that happen to Moreno? I have no evidence that it did. I'm asking the question because there is a reason we will see such a distinct change in performance. Two guys doing the same thing at the same weight class against each other. You do it twice and you have vastly different fights. Figueiredo versus Moreno was not competitive, part 2. Figueiredo versus Moreno was not as competitive as you think it might have been, part 1, but it favored opposite guys. What in the hell's going on in number 3? So I have to look for an intangible. I have to look at motivation. And I can't do any more in identifying motivation than you guys can. I'm internalizing. If I was in Figueiredo's spot, if I had something and it got taken away, if I could juxtapose the preparation before one contest versus the preparation of the second contest, would I be able to successfully identify what the differences were to hope that I could get a different outcome in part 3? Well, yeah, you bet your ass I could. If I was the champion, I'm no longer the champion, and it's against the same guys in the same way, I'm going to want to get that belt back. And Figueiredo did offer us something coming out of that second fight, which was he opened his own gym. He said that, I opened my own gym. And I was dealing with employees, and I was dealing with landlords, and I was dealing with production facility. I was dealing with equipment. I'm teaching classes instead of just coming in and getting my workouts. It's a big difference. And I do tie that in because it's exactly what we're seeing right now with Amanda Nunes, who has announced she's leaving the ATT. I don't know what to make of that. But Figueiredo just did that same thing and says it cost him a world championship. So if he was able to buckle down and really focus and change his preparation in conjunction with the weight cut. Hardest thing for Figueiredo has always been beating the scale the day before. He's going to have a hard time this time. But if he put himself in a better position through a better level of discipline, which just means calories in versus calories out, if he's done that, his weight's more under control. So when he comes to the actual cut, losing weight and weight cutting are not the same thing. Losing weight is calorie deprivation. Cutting weight is pulling out water. So that is greatly what affects your ability to recover. And if Moreno is more in check with the weight prior to the cut, which means he has to pull out less, his recovery time will be different. He knows fully what he's getting into. He knows what the corrections need to be. Does that give him enough of a leg up? I mean, these are big ifs here, guys. I don't know when you don't know, but I got to put the curse on somebody. And if you want to know who I'm thinking is going to win this fight, it's going to be long and it's going to be drawn out, but he's going to win more rounds than the other guy. I'm taking a new Deiveson Figueiredo.